regiment forged by necessity. Mist blankets the fields of Camp Upton in 1917. Wooden barracks stretch into the distance. Young recruits, many of them newly arrived from New York City, shuffle in long lines, uniforms ill-fitting, expressions mixed with fear and excitement. The 307th Infantry Regiment was born from urgency. As the United States entered the Great War, the Army expanded at a pace never before seen. The Selective Service Act swept thousands into uniform, and from these civilian drafts the 307th emerged, one of the principal infantry regiments of the 77th Division, famously known as the Statue of Liberty Division. Created from men of every borough of New York, the regiment reflected the city itself, diverse, energetic, and determined. They arrived as strangers, but would soon be bound by the trials of war. Camp Upton, the road from citizen to soldier. Footage transitions to drill fields, mess halls, bayonet courses, and endless marching formations. Training at Camp Upton was demanding, often improvised, and constantly evolving. Officers, many newly commissioned, struggled to prepare thousands of men for trench warfare half a world away. The regiment studied French manuals, practiced gas mask drills, and learned to navigate barbed wire and shell-ridden mock trenches. The soldiers of the 307 came from vastly different backgrounds. Clerks, factory workers, immigrants barely speaking English, seasoned laborers hardened by city life. But as the months passed, they developed cohesion and discipline. By the spring of 1918, the 307th Infantry Regiment was ready to sail for Europe. Across the Atlantic, into the war zone, troop ships cut through rough seas. Men cram into bunks stacked like coffins, seasick, exhausted, and anxious. Landing in France, the 307th joined the massive American Expeditionary Forces under General John J. Pershing. The regiment soon entered a world transformed by 4 years of industrial warfare. Trenches stretching to the horizon, roads clogged with artillery, skies buzzing with aircraft. In quiet sectors, they learned the realities of the front. Mud that swallowed boots, whistling shells, and deadly sniper fire. Their baptism of fire came gradually, but soon they were thrust into major operations. Was-Essen, blooding the 307th. The Was-Essen offensive in the late summer of 1918 shattered any remaining illusions. The regiment advanced through shattered villages and dense forests under relentless machine gun fire. Units of the 307th assaulted German positions with fixed bayonets, often fighting yard by yard. Casualties mounted quickly, platoons reduced to handfuls of survivors. Yet momentum pressed them forward. The regiment proved itself capable, resilient, and aggressive. This campaign hardened the men for what would become their defining ordeal. The Lost Battalion. The 1st Battalion. 307th takes its stand. The camera shifts to the dense, shadowed Argonne forest, wet leaves, tangled undergrowth, and uneven slopes. In October 1918, during the Meuse-Argonne offensive, the 307th Infantry Regiment entered one of the most complex battlefields of the war. It was here that the regiment became immortalized through the ordeal of the Lost Battalion, a composite force led by Major Charles Whittlesey, drawn largely from the 1st and 2nd Battalions of the 307th Infantry, along with elements of the 308th. Pushing forward under heavy fire, the battalion advanced too far into the Argonne ravines and became completely cut off, surrounded by German forces on all sides. More than 550 men went into the pocket. Over the next several days, the cut-off unit endured starvation, dehydration, German assaults, and even friendly artillery fire mistakenly landing on their position. Messages carried by pigeons, including the famous bird cher ami, helped halt the deadly barrage. Only a fraction of the original force walked out when relief finally arrived. The stand of the Lost Battalion became one of the most heroic episodes in American military history, and the 307th Infantry Regiment was at its core. Final push toward victory. As October turned to November, the regiment, now battered but battle-hardened, continued to assault German defenses. Stubborn machine gun nests slowed progress, and the forest remained lethal, but the 307th pressed on. In the final days before the armistice on November 11th, the regiment advanced through thick fog and scattered resistance, driving the enemy back until orders transmitted the unbelievable news. The war was over. Exhausted, many soldiers collapsed where they stood, returning home from soldiers to citizens again. Back in New York, streets filled with cheering crowds as the 307th returned in the spring of 1919. Families reunited, bands played, confetti rained from buildings, and thousands welcomed home the men who had survived the Argonne. The regiment demobilized at Camp Upton, but its legacy endured in the memory of the nation and in the hearts of those who served. Over time, the regiment's honors would continue in reconstituted formations of the U.S. Army Reserve and National Guard, preserving the lineage of the 307th Infantry. Legacy of the 307th, courage etched in history. Modern shots appear. Monuments in the Argonne, the famous Lost Battalion Memorial, and descendants placing flowers at graves. The story of the 307th Infantry Regiment is more than a list of battles. It is a testament to American diversity and unity under fire. Ordinary men from New York neighborhoods became extraordinary soldiers in one of history's most brutal conflicts. The regiment's reputation is inseparable from the stand of the Lost Battalion, but its contributions extended across the entire American campaign in France. It was a regiment shaped by hardship, bound by sacrifice, and remembered for an unbreakable fighting spirit.